So 3.1, we're looking at key features of graphs. So I can graph in factored form. That's our first thing. So we love factored form. That's why we learned to factor. It's the easiest way to graph a polynomial because we can see the roots. So when we say roots, x-intercepts, zeros, those all mean the same thing. So every time I say root, I'm talking about the x-intercept on the graph. That's also called a zero. So factored form looks different for every polynomial. If I'm looking at a quadratic, that's x squared. There's only going to be two factors because of that 2. So it'd be root 1 and root 2. If I'm looking at a cubic, that's x cubed. Guess how many factors there are? 3. Guess how many roots there are? 3. And we can just keep going. The next one is called a quartic. It's x to the 4th. Guess how many factors there would be? Guess how many roots there would be? 4. So the degree of the polynomial determines the amount of factors. So if I'm looking at this example, the leading degree is 3. This is a cubic polynomial. And if I told you to graph that by hand without a calculator, you would have to go look in a calculator or get some points. It's harder to do in that form. So this is that same equation in factored form. And guess what? There's 3 factors because it's a cubic polynomial. And now I can just see the roots. So remember, the roots are the opposite signs. So this would really, we would rewrite this as like x minus -3, x minus -1, and x minus 2. The roots always come after a negative. That's why on all of these I wrote a negative. So on this, the root would be -3, -1, and then just +2. Those are our intercepts, our roots, our zeros. You're going to hear it a lot of different ways. You just need to know those mean the same thing. So now I can graph easy. I can go to -3, -1, and +2. And I know the graph is going to go up and down between those points. If you don't, from this point, you would need to get an intercept or probably 1 or 2 more points. And you could do that by plugging in values. I'm going to cheat and use Desmos just so I can get a feel of what it looks like, a rough sketch. So see, here's our intercepts, our roots, and then it goes up, down, up. And I'm not going to be exact, but it's a cubic, and that's what those look like. Okay, the increasing, decreasing, we're going to look at that. Increasing is where the slope is positive. Decreasing is where the slope is negative. And when you read a graph, it's easiest to read a graph like you read a book. You start on the left of the graph and you go to the right. So I'm going to start over here on the left. Remember, it goes down forever towards -infinity. And remember, it goes up forever towards positive infinity. So look at what happens when I move left to right. Is my line going up or down? It's going up. That means I'm increasing right here. It's positive slope. And then I switch. Then I start to go down. Down, 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 down. That means right here, where my pen's going down, I'm decreasing. And then I switch again. Then I start going up, 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 and I'm increasing. So we need to figure out what are these points? These are called the turning points. What's the value at those points? And we only use x values. So sometimes it helps to draw a line to the x-axis because that's the number you want. You want -5 and 0. So these numbers are going to be in our intervals: -infinity, -5, 0, and infinity. And an interval is not a point, it's an interval, and we write the smallest x value, that's the one on the left, comma, the largest one, which would be on the right. So let's write our intervals for increasing. I'm increasing from -infinity, that's my most left value, comma, to -5. And then here's something that should have a bullet point. More than two or more than one interval, so multiple intervals, need a union. Join intervals with a union symbol. And that's a big U shape. And you'll see that option. So U, union. And our second interval, left side of it, 0 to infinity. So our decreasing is right in the middle of those. So what's the left value and the right value? -5 to 0. That's the green spot. So those are our two intervals for increasing, decreasing.